I've been getting into props lately. I got a prop today. So I'm like a prop comment. What's the origins of this video?
3, 2, 1, go.
What's up, everybody? I'm Michael E. Murphy, and I am consulting a rule book. Ooh, this one's laid out different. That's what I'm talking about today's rule books. This is Metagame Minute. It's a weekly segment where we talk about something to do with board games that's been on our minds. And one thing I want to talk about is rulebook layout. I have talked about this before, and my opinion is different now. This happens with me. I don't stand by what I believe. I change constantly, as we should. We all should do that. We should be more versatile in our thinking. What I want to talk about is how you lay out a rule book. And specifically something that I've seen Board and Dice do in particular a lot, but other people as well. Do you like when a board game rulebook goes over general concepts about a game before getting into the nits and the grits of how a round plays out and all the types of actions you can do? I used to be very much against that kind of thing. I wanted to just go linearly. Tell me the setup, tell me the round structure, tell me the turn structure, tell me the actions. And generally, I do agree with that kind of flow. One thing I've seen Board and Dice do recently with a lot of their games is they will give you that setup, so you have everything out on the board, and you're nice and ready to play. That feels good. And then what they'll do is they'll go over key concepts, and they'll talk about things like resources and gold. They talk about expanding your city. They talk about the military track and what it does, your workers, all the different types you can get and what they do and how they differ. They talk about the temples and such, and then they get into playing the game. At some point, my feelings on this shifted, and I don't know what it was, but I found myself as a recent reminder rather that made me think of it. It was this rule book. I was reading through the key concepts, and I was like, you know what? This is actually really working for me. I like hearing, like, you're gonna see kind of these types of things. You're gonna hear references to workers. You're gonna hear stuff about temples and temple cards. You're gonna hear about this military track. And so when I get into the whole round structure, the types of actions you can do, where on the board you can go, I already have a little bit of vocabulary in the back of my mind. I have a little bit of familiarity. So I learned that there's these 3 basic resources in the game and gold. And then I look as they tell me about the different encounter sites on the board. Hey, there's those 3 basic resources. Here's gold. Oh, I remember gold can be subbed in for anything. Gold can also be used specifically to do your towers. Oh, I'm reading down the line. Now I get to the point about building tower levels. That costs gold. Oh yeah, I remember that. That gold can be used for that, and gold is also wild. So it kind of helped reinforce concepts for me. And I found it that it really helped out with getting things down, so that by the time I got to the end of the rule book, I was like, I feel pretty comfortable right now. I feel like I really have a good grasp on what things do because it's been kind of repeated a few different times. And we started off general and then moved into focus. I didn't used to like that, but I think maybe it's just that Board and Dice is doing it better now or something like that. But lately with their rule books and other folks as well, it's really kind of helping me out to have something of an idea of the types of things you're gonna see. And then we learn specifically, how do we use those things? What happens when you use a worker and go to a place? Oh, this or this. Okay, cool. That worked for me. So I'm curious, for your rulebook layouts, how do you like them to be arranged? Typically, we're gonna start with the setup and stuff. You get something on the table, and then you go into, do you wanna hear round structure, turn stuff first, and then kind of general concepts, tips and tricks, frequently asked questions, or whatever later? Or do you like to kind of get an overview of a game and then go into specifics? I think that the way I teach games, I try to start broad and then we narrow the scope to get people an idea of the world. And maybe now I'm seeing these rule books and it kind of reflects the way that I teach games. And so now it speaks to me more. I'm not sure, but I'm really digging rule books that do that now, because sometimes with those games, there's big stuff. There's a lot of things to track. There's a lot of areas of the game. And so having kind of a general view, and then I start getting to specifics, helps me remember stuff. That's it for me, everybody. I just want to know, how do you like your rule book laid out? I've been digging on that lately. I think it has to be done well to work, or otherwise you're like, what is all this stuff? When do I take a turn? And then you can get overwhelmed. So I do think you have to do it well to do it, but if it works well, it works well. So that's what I want to know. How do you like your rule books laid out? Hit me in the comments with those before you leave, I guess, this video. Lost my train of thought. Anyway, just remember that whether or not you want your rulebook laid out nice and neat and go small to big concepts to small, scatter it all around with like little blurbs about other things throughout, the more meta, the more better. Thanks so much for checking out another Metagame Minute. If you want to see Nick's Metagame Minute from last week, you can check it out right there. And we actually played Origin's First Builders, a full playthrough with one of our Game House episodes. You can check it out right there. Nick edits them. They're really good. You should watch them and then like them and comment on them. Tell them like, man, Mike learned that rulebook must have been great because Mike played this game good. Assuming I played it well. I don't remember.